Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we will be solving 50 AZ900 MCQs. I have divided this 50 MCQs into two videos. In first video, we will be solving the first 25 MCQs, and in the second video, we will be solving another 25 MCQs. So I will try to go slow and do a deep discussion on the topics that we are solving the MCQs on. So the first question is, you want to move your application to cloud. For the same, you want to explore Azure. What will you do first? Will you build a virtual machine on Azure? Create a management group? Get an Azure subscription? Like if you want to explore Azure, creating a virtual machine will not be a right idea. Like if you will be creating a virtual machine, you are supposed to pay for it. Then again, creating a management group, you cannot create a management group if you do not have resource groups or the resources within the resource group. So again, option B is also incorrect. Then this option C is get an Azure subscription. So if you want to browse or explore Azure cloud, the first thing you need to get is a Microsoft Azure subscription. This is a Azure account where you can browse all offerings made by Azure and go through Azure portal. And many services are free if you give your credit card details and stuff. So the answer is option number C, get a Azure subscription. Moving forward, question number 2, virtual machines are what kind of offering? Are they platform as a service? Are they infrastructure as a service? Are they software as a service? Whenever you are asked a question where you have to decide between these three services, ask yourself, if I will be the user, or I will be the one using them, so do I have to care about the softwares within? If you have to care about the softwares within, then it is a infrastructure as a service. If you just have to go and you do not have to worry about underlying infrastructure or underlying operating system or underlying servers, then it is a platform as a service, where 50-50 workload is divided between the tenant and the cloud provider. Then we have something called a software as a service. In software as a service, a maximum work is done by the cloud. The tenant only has to enjoy the functionalities that software has to offer. You do not have to worry about the copyright issues of the software. You do not have to worry about getting the software upgraded or stuff. So the answer is virtual machines are infrastructure as a service. Then moving forward, we have question number 3. If your enterprise wants to move the application at resources, it wants to 100% move to the cloud, you should look to what kind of expenditure. You should go ahead with operational expenditure, or you should go with capital expenditure. We'll do a discussion between both of them. Okay, so what is capital expenditure and what is operational expenditure? So when you spend money on asset such as land, server, computers, like when you buy physical stuff, or you rent labor to look after them, to clean the place, or you pay rent for such amount, that is called capital expenditure. Then we have something known as OPEX, that is operational expenditure. The cost for running a product or a service in business is known as operational expenditure. Like if you create virtual machine, and if you pay for those virtual machine, then it is known as operational expenditure. Or if you rent out servers on Azure, then it is known as operational expenditure. In many parameters, operational expenditure is cheaper than capital expenditure. Okay, so that is the reason cloud is so famous. People do not have to worry if the server will get damaged. People do not have to worry if the operating system will move out of license. Do not have to worry about antivirus. You do not have to worry about keeping the server cool, and all these things are taken care by cloud. So our question was, if your enterprise wants to move 100% resources to the cloud, it will invest in what kind of expenditure? So the answer is, if you want to move to the cloud, you need to go ahead with operational expenditure, where you do not have to you have to get virtual things. You have to pay for virtual, or you have to rent out the virtual things. Then moving ahead to question number 4, you want to deploy an AI solution in Azure. which Azure resources you should use. So, if you want to work with artificial intelligence, uh, Azure Logic apps are not the answer. Azure Logic apps are basically used to create small applications within the Azure cloud. It is a platform as a service offering. Azure virtual machines have nothing to do with AI, as your virtual machines are just a virtual machine where the developer has to decide what they want to do with it. Then we have a machine learning studio. Yes, machine learning studio has a drag and drop functionality where you can decide what kind of predictive analysis algorithm you want to go ahead with, and it gives you multiple options to work with AI solution. Availability zone have nothing to do with AI. Again, availability zones are basically related to increasing the fault tolerance of your application or of your enterprise resources. So the answer is option number C. If you want to deploy an AI solution, you should go ahead with machine learning studio within Azure. Then we have, which of the following Azure services is used to store sensitive information? So we have Azure Key Vault, Azure Security Center, and Azure Portal. So Azure Portal, basically it is like a dashboard where you can go through all the Azure services that are given by Azure. It's basically a search or navigation place. Then Azure Security Center is it's concerned with security of your resources. And we have Azure Key Vault. So the answer is, if you want to store sensitive information, so Azure Key Vault is your answer. Why it is famous for storing sensitive information is that Azure Key Vault always does user authentication before it allows the user to open the vault and see the data within. So Azure admin can store API keys, password, digital certificates, and whatnot. So Azure Key Vault is used to store sensitive information. Then we have, if half of your enterprise are on Azure, that is, half of your enterprise is present on cloud, and half are present on enterprise building, that is on premises. Such type of cloud deployment is called a public cloud, a private cloud, or a hybrid cloud. So we'll do a small discussion. Public cloud are basically where all the services are present within the public cloud, like Google Drive and YouTube. All those things work on public cloud where the data is to available to the public. Then we have something called as private cloud. Private cloud is basically a cloud is deployed within the enterprise where all the servers are only reserved for that enterprise itself. Like banks and hospitals, the enterprises with sensitive data go normally with private cloud. And the companies that want to optimize their resources that are already present with them, like the servers they already have, the machines they already have bought, but out of nowhere or because of something they decided to move towards cloud, they cannot throw their servers away, they cannot throw their machines away. They want to keep the data on cloud and the networks within on premises, they can go with hybrid. So our question was asking us that if your enterprise is half on cloud and half on the enterprise building, it is a hybrid deployment. Okay, this is a very known exam question. It will be asked with different kinds of ways, but whenever it is mentioned that half of the resources are supposed to be on land and half of the resources are supposed to be on cloud, your answer always will be a hybrid cloud. Then moving ahead to question number 7, which of the following are benefits of cloud computing? We have high availability. Yes, cloud computing offers high availability. The SLA, service level agreements by the different cloud providers are so high that it is not expected that things will go down. Scalability, yes, since it is a pay as you go model, we can easily scale. We can deploy 5 to 10 virtual machines within minutes, and we can also deallocate them. Yes, it provides elasticity. Depending upon our requirement, as your web apps automatically scale the traffic up and down. Agility, yes, we can work around with change. Disaster recovery, yes, it provides disaster recovery. The region pair, the availability zones, all these are meant for disaster recovery. So the answer is F, all of above. High availability, scalability, elasticity, agility, and disaster recovery, all of these fives are benefits of cloud computing. Moving ahead to question number 8. Azure provides fault tolerance due to presence of availability zones. True or false? So what are availability zone? Availability zone is basically um, a bunch of data servers that are present within, you know, region. And every region has a region pair. For example, in India, if you try to deploy a server or a virtual machine in North India and its region pair is available in South India, then automatically it is kind of a mirror server, okay? Like if one goes down, the second one is available. So because of this mirroring or mirror servers, Azure provides fault tolerance. Like if one goes down, the second is always available. So the answer is true. Availability zones are a unique physical location within Azure regions. If by any chance one of the zone gets down, you will have all the Azure services up and running on the other zone within the same region. So within the same region also you can deploy your servers in multiple availability zones. You can also deploy your Azure resources within multiple Azure region and region pairs. So question number 9. When you stop using a deployed virtual machine in Azure, are you still paying for the storage of the virtual machine? Again, this is a known question where like if you have rented a virtual machine in Azure but you're not using it, but you will still pay for the storage. So the answer is true. Yes, you have to pay for the storage because in this case you will be using the Azure storage service, if even if you're not using your virtual machine. So always remember to deallocate the resources if you're not using them, because anyways you'll be paying for the storage if you're not using the Azure resource or Azure service. Question number 10. A company who moves to public cloud can decommission its infrastructure. So like if a company wants to move to public cloud totally, uh, can it decommission its infrastructure? The answer is true. Like if the company is putting all the servers and all the data to Azure, it has no need to keep the on premises infrastructure. They can totally decommission them. Question number 11. Azure Resource Manager ARM templates are fabricated in which of the following? In HTML, in Java, C, or JSON file. So the ARM templates that are present within Azure are present in JSON format. So this is a direct question answer. Question number 12. Commands to ARM, that is Azure Resource Manager, can be given by which of the following? So before discussing this question, let us talk a little bit about ARM. So ARM is basically Azure Resource Manager in which the user can command the resource manager to allocate a resource. For example, if I want to use Azure Machine Learning Studio, then I'll give commands to ARM that please create one instance for me where I am able to use Azure Machine Learning Studio. Please create an instance of virtual machine for me. Please create an instance of Azure Cosmos DB for me. So like it's like commanding. And if you want to command or get something out of the Azure, you have to always go to ARM, that is Azure Resource Manager. So Azure Resource Manager can be reached by Azure portal. The answer is yes. You can pass your commands by navigating to the dashboard or Azure portal we have. We can also give as your PowerShell our commands. We can also give by CLI. We can also pass our commands by CLI. All these three options are valid. So the answer is D, all of above. So as your portal, as your PowerShell, and as your CLI, to whomsoever you provide a command, they'll reach out to ARM API, that is as your resource manager application programming interface, and they will forward your command to Azure Resource Manager. Depending upon your need, the Azure Resource Manager will go to resource provider, and the resource will be given to you or allocated to your account. Moving ahead to question number 12. Commands to ARM. Okay, fine, this is the same question. The answer is all of above. In question number 13, you want to store unstructured data in Azure. Which of the following service you will opt for? Unstructured data is basically a data with no relational database or no schema. So we have Azure blob storage, then we have Azure file storage, then we have Azure disk storage, and we have Azure virtual machine. So first of all, Azure virtual machines are not used to store data. The other three are, yes, they are used to store data. So the answer is, before going ahead with the answer, let's talk about them. So the Azure blob storage is used to store unstructured data like images, videos, and etc. They are also known as containers. So if you have a bunch of files and without any structure or connection or linkage, the answer is you should go ahead with Azure blob storage. Then we have Azure files. So Azure files is similar to the files we have in Windows, like we have C drive, then we have program files, then we have like a folder and file relation, like a map linked files, which we have a path or something. Such storage is called as Azure files. This is the one similar that we have in our Windows operating system, I can say. Then we have something known as Azure disk storage. So my laptop has a 1 TB disk. So the virtual machines that we create, they also have virtual hard disks. So all these are present within Azure disk storage. Further, this Azure blob storage is divided into hot, cool, and archive. Depending upon your retrieval frequency, you can go ahead with these. They basically have different rates. So the answer is, if you want to store unstructured data, you have to go with Azure blob storage. Moving ahead to question number 14. Uploading data to Azure cloud from on-premises is free of cost. Okay, like we have two things. Like we upload the data to the cloud. The other option is to download the data from the cloud. Okay. So like if you want to upload the data to the Azure cloud, you have to pay for it, depending upon the amount of data that you are trying to upload, the size of cloud you are going to use. Like the more the data, the more you have to pay for the storage. So uploading the data is paid, but if you try to download that data, it is free of cost. You do not have to pay for downloading the data. So the answer is false. The uploading data to Azure cloud is not free of cost. You have to pay depending upon the size of your data. Okay, moving ahead to question number 15. A big data analysis service for machine learning. We have options as Azure Databricks, Azure Functions, Azure Virtual Machine, Azure App Service. So we'll talk about one by one. Azure App Service is used to host web applications. It is a platform as a service where you can deploy, create, or host your web application. Then we have something called as virtual machine. Again, a virtual machine is basically a virtual machine. It has nothing to do with big data analysis. Then we have something called as Azure Functions. Azure Functions are basically a command or a small function that run on a condition. Then we have something called as Azure Databricks. So yes, Azure Databricks is a big data analysis service for machine learning. In Azure Databricks, you can upload big data, you can clean it, you can run algorithms on it, and you can fetch results and do infographics and graphs and stuff on it. So Azure Databricks is basically integrated with all types of data storage services like Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Lake Storage, Azure Blob Storage, Azure Event Hubs, and Azure Cosmos DB. Anything which generates data or stores data is can be connected to Azure Databricks. And all these things are used for analysis purpose and machine learning. And integrated management is like for example, if your data is being used in a pipeline or a code. So all these things are where Azure Databricks plays a role. So the answer is option number A, Azure Databricks. Moving ahead to question number 16. You have three servers, name A, B, and C. You want server number C on a different network segment. Which Azure service you will use to meet your requirement? Again, this is a known exam question. Like you have three servers and you want the network ongoing in server C to be separated from A and B. So a resource log for server C. So resource logs are basically used to authenticate the person before they use the resource. So resource log has nothing to do with keeping them on different network segment. A tag for server C. Again, a tag won't help. Tag is only meant for organization purpose, or if you want to keep multiple resources under a name or a tag. A virtual network for C and a different one for A and B. So yes, the option number C is right. If you want to keep anything on a different network, then you can opt for a virtual network, different virtual network. In this case, all the subnets within the virtual network will have different kind of traffic communication among themselves. Like if uh, a data is going between A and B, okay, that data bus will be totally different for server number C. So it is basically consider it like roads. The traffic roads for data communication within data going inside C or coming out of server number C will be totally different from the data buses that will be used by server A and B. So in this way, the network or the traffic will never interact. The network traffic will be different for AB and the network will be different for C. So this is the main basic use of virtual networks, to keep the network separate. Question number 17. You want to mount files from your on-premises Windows machine to cloud. Which of the following service you will use? The option is A, Azure File, B, Azure Blob Storage, C, Azure Cold Storage, and D, none of above. The question specifically says that your files are similar to the Windows machine files. So whenever you want to mount file, you want to move a web of file, or if you want to move file wherever the file word comes, always remember your answer will be Azure Files. Files have a link between files and folders. So if you want to retain those linkage, you always go with Azure Files. If have your unstructured data, then the answer would have been Azure Blob Storage, but over here specifically we're talking about files. Question number 18. Your application generates unstructured data and JSON files. It includes media, documents, audio, etc. Which of the following Azure service you will use to manage such data storage? The answer is let's go through Options one by one. The first one says Azure files. Over here, unstructured data is mentioned. So there is no, linkage of files and folders present. So option A is incorrect. Then we have option number B as your Cosmos DB. As your Cosmos DB is used to store unstructured data. Then we have Azure SQL DB. Azure SQL DB or SQL DB is used to store relational database that have a scheme. So the answer is option number B. In this case, you will go ahead with using the Azure Cosmos DB. Again, this is one of a famous question in the AC 900 exam, where they ask you in different forms, like if you want to rent out a service to store unstructured data, if your application wants to store unstructured data, if you have unstructured data on premises, and if you want to move to cloud. Always whenever you see unstructured data, the best friend is Azure Cosmos DB. Question number 19. If we apply a tag on resource group XYZ, all resources present within XYZ will get assigned the same tag. So the answer is false. Tags are not inherited from resource group. So if resource group XYZ has a tag, say blue, the blue tag will only be applicable for the resource group, not the resources are present within the XYZ resource group. So when you will try to fetch all the things that are present under the tag blue, you will only get the resource group, not the resources present within the resource group. Question number 20. You want to deploy an IoT solution. You want a secure way to communicate with Microsoft Cloud. Which of the following service you will use? Device to cloud. Okay, in IoT, always remember we have three things. One is IoT Hub. Then we have IoT Hub Central. Then we have Azure Sphere. Okay, so when it comes to IoT, and if you want a secure way to communicate, the answer will always be Azure Sphere. Azure Sphere is basically a silicon chip which you can attach to your device. This silicon chip has a own operating system, Linux based operating system within it, which encrypts the data and safely forwards your data towards the Microsoft Cloud. So Azure Sphere are specifically created by Microsoft for applications that use IoT solutions. So the answer is Azure Sphere. So this is what Azure Sphere looks like. It is a silicon chip only meant for IoT application, and it can connect your IoT device securely to Microsoft Cloud. So whenever you see a combination of secure communication and IoT, your answer will be Azure Sphere. Then question number 21. Dash offers the distributed version control and source code management functionality. GitHub, Azure Dev Test Labs, Azure Functions. So as we had discussed earlier, Azure Functions are basically when you want to run few lines of code when an event is triggered. So it has nothing to do with code management, distributed version control. Then we have something called as Azure Dev Test Labs. So Azure Dev Test Lab are a platform as a service offering by Azure, where developer or tester do not have to worry about underlying infrastructure. They can directly start with development or testing activities. So the answer is option number A. GitHub offers a distributed version control and source code management functionality. GitHub was recently bought by Microsoft. So GitHub is also a part of curriculum of AC 900. Question number 22. Azure Firewall gives external protection, and Azure Network Security Group provides internal attack prevention within Azure Cloud. So when we talk about cloud, the security of data is very important, because many application enterprises have faith on cloud, they trust the cloud, that yes, Azure cloud is safe, I can upload my sensitive data. In this case, cloud has to ensure and give that integrity to the customer, that yes, I will make sure that your data is reached to me in safe manner, and when I reply back to you, the data is also reached safe to you. So there are two types of attacks. External attack, that is the attack that can come outside the Microsoft cloud boundary. Then we have something called as internal traffic, the traffic that goes within the network security group, like when the resources communicate among themselves or the virtual network present within the cloud communicate between themselves. The internal traffic, the traffic that goes within the Microsoft Azure cloud. So yes, Azure firewall checks the traffic that comes outside from Microsoft Azure. So all the traffic that that comes outside is filtered by Azure firewall. So in this way, Azure firewall gives external protection. Azure network security groups, they filter the internal traffic. They make sure that they are encrypted, and they make sure that they are decrypted with the right key. So in this case, the answer is true. Azure has both of these services to keep the data safe, the traffic encrypted and safe. Moving ahead to question number 23. In serverless computing, the developer does not have to think about underlying infrastructure. The whole concept of server less computing was that the developer does not have to think about the underlying infrastructure. Like if I am going on serverless platform, if I'm doing a development on serverless platform, I do not have to worry about the softwares, like are they up to date, are they open source, is the license up to date, is the security perfect, is the operating system up to date, do I have enough memory, do I have enough servers, are my servers up and running. So in serverless computing, the developer is free of the worries that they are related to the physical things like server infrastructure and operating system. So the answer is true. Moving ahead to question number 24. You cannot move on-premises pre-made SQL to Azure. You have to build it from scratch. Like if you already have a relational database present, you already have tables and schemes present within them, you cannot move them to Azure. Is this statement true or false? The statement is false. You can easily move your SQL data to Azure. Azure has a special service for that. That is called Azure Managed Instances. Okay, this is again a important question from exam. It is a platform as a service. If you want to move your enterprise platform to cloud, SQL Managed Instances come under as this offering. So this is a service which you can use to migrate your existing database to cloud. You don't need to create it from scratch. This is the last question of this video. The next 25 question will be solved in part number 2. So make sure that you watch part number 2 and acknowledge yourself with more as your facts. Question number 25. You have multiple servers and database within Azure. You need to recommend a security solution in Azure that will monitor inbound traffic. Always remember, inbound traffic, inward traffic, all these things are managed by a network security group. Okay, a network security group is basically something that filters the inbound traffic. It has rules and regulation. All these rules and regulations make sure that the traffic that is moving inward within the cloud is follows the, it's compliant. It follows all the rules and regulation. In this way, the encryption, decryption, digital signatures, all these things are made sure before the data enters or moves out. As your firewall has related to outbound traffic. It has nothing to do with inbound traffic. So the answer is option number A. So here we end with the first part of solving the 50 as your MCQs. Make sure that you check a playlist that is present